is.
Here we are. All right, ready to get started?
Ready to go? Rock and roll.
Okay, I'm going to let you take this, and you can do our goat race.
All right, sounds good. What do I do? All right, thank you all for coming. We appreciate not only myself, Melissa Murphy, being here from Imago, but I've got John Bradford here joining me today too. So.
Hello.
Our outcomes for today's webinar are we're going to cover implementing for impact. So talking about the Imago lessons and a variety of topics regarding that. Mm-hmm. All right. Our agenda is we've got 4 ways that we're going to cover to increase the impact of the Imago lessons. We have an hour. We probably won't take that long, but we have it on the calendar. Rules, feel free to chat in the chat box. We will check on that at the end of the presentation. If you're watching this as a recording, then feel free to reach out to us via Twitter, email, however you get a hold of us here. Sound good? All right.
Sounds good to me.
Any questions so far, John?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Let's get into it.
And as you know, it's a webinar, so feel free to exit. I won't know, we won't know, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so 4 implementation tips for greater impact. And what we're looking at here are, these are just a selection of ways that you can better use Imago lessons in your platform, in your system, in your classroom. And so these 4 actually, we didn't just come up with them arbitrarily. Right. You know, they're not designed, you know, to in some way by us. They're actually just results from us being in the classroom, seeing and interacting with you and observing best practices by some of our best facilitators, as well as some of the data and the feedback we get from study guides and we get from our surveys. These are what works. And so the 4 are: what's your why, leveraging lessons, your method matters, and grab your guide.
And John, you mentioned surveys. So yes, we do ask at times for folks to fill out surveys to contribute their thoughts and provide us feedback. And so know that we are taking that back and utilizing it, reviewing it. Our great data and research team provide that information to us in digestible ways, which I love because that's amazing. And so we are using that information to cover these 4 topics today. So again, thank you as facilitators, as teachers, as just Imago partners for your feedback and providing us with your thoughts and how we can do better and how we can share the work that is going on with all of our partners.
Sounds good. All right, let's get into the first one.
All right.
What is your why, or what's your why? Now, the goal kind of behind this is, we're talking about purpose, right?
Right.
And the power behind purpose in any organization. We're talking about trying to find out, you know, if you are a teacher and the district wants you to use these lessons in your district, or you know, somewhere in the structure of your organization, or even you've chosen, the goal is to try to identify, kind of like a Simon Sinek piece there, where it's find your why or start with why. Is we're trying to find the root of why are you using Imago lessons. And this isn't just for you, you know, to figure out, you know, what's my motivation, as it would be. But it's also for the students in the classroom, because anytime you implement anything new in a classroom, and you haven't actually told the students why, or they believe they suspect that there's no real purpose in it, they will.
They're going to check out.
Check out.
And not just students, but learners in general. If you don't explain to us why we're going to cover these topics or these subjects or why these are important to you or your organization, again, it may not seem relevant and they might not care. So.
As we just suggest, spend some time and try to understand what the purpose is, what the outcome is, and how we can use some of these best practices to support that. I think it would be good to, we'll progress on the things here. So literally it's a purpose for impactful change. Now you had a example of this, a good example from a partner that we can talk about?
Firebaugh Unified here in Fresno County. They decided to utilize these lessons, as you can see, to equip their students with skills for success and to provide all their students with even playing field. And so they're utilizing the Imago lessons, a variety of them, through all their 9th through 12th grade. And all of their students will be using the same lessons this 2019-2020 school year. And so, again, providing them an opportunity to just have exposure to a variety of lessons. And so we worked with their principal to identify what lessons to use this year. And then one of the cool things that happened when we were out there kind of facilitating and showing how we would do the lessons is the principal took the lesson and made it his own. And so he used our self-control lesson and was able to demonstrate that in a classroom because he was able to relate it to the problems or maybe some of the issues that they were facing in their district. And so he made it theirs. And it was really neat to see a principal take an opportunity, take a chance on trying something new and implementing with his teachers in a short, quick time.
So we say make it theirs. He actually facilitated the lesson as if he was the teacher for students and for people.
He did.
Well, that's great because automatically, from a leadership perspective, you're showing value, right? You're showing the purpose for those lessons. You're conveying that, and everyone sees that kind of weight behind it. And I think that's going to be impactful for anything you implement across the district.
Absolutely.
And when we see that there's research, we were just reading some books here that actually tell us that unless you have that kind of buy-in, even from the superintendent down in an area, will you really have buy-in all the way to the classroom with students?
And that's a school example. We also have tribal partners and other organizations that utilize these lessons as well. And so when their leaders or management take on these lessons and practice them or implement them in some of the their meetings that they're doing, again, showing that they're willing to do it as a management level, that they're buying in and believe in the concepts and the topics that they're trying to cover.
Yeah, and so that's really great, and that's really important. I think we had a few quotes, which we always really want to do, and we're going to do it actually throughout the presentation here. It's one thing to hear us support some of these points, but we want to give you some student voice, and so you can see how it's being received.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think Fireball had a few. We'll touch here on.
Yeah, so we had some student responses. I used communication to make more friends. And then what I learned from Imago is that I used in my own life is talking and making eye contact. And so as a teacher, I'm sure we would appreciate that a little more. And as facilitators in general, just from utilizing some of these lessons that they're able to look at them many times and communicate more effectively with their teachers and admin.
Yeah, so even if the district has a goal for you, right? I think it's really important that you find your why and your purpose, right? Because, as we can see here, students are finding ways to affect the classroom culture by having appropriate, and using soft skills, using these kinds of lessons to have appropriate conversations with the teacher. And so anytime you can, a lot of times is there's a hard time to find time to do these lessons.
Right.
But we're also looking at the added benefit of adding a better culture and a better environment in that class, which will probably save you some time, right?
Research shows that, and actually our research and data team has brought that up to me a couple of times, so that's a whole nother webinar that we could get into and discuss those findings.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so we're going to get into now leveraging lessons. And when we talk about leveraging lessons, we're really talking about we talked about the organization's why, but now you can hear a little bit of the why from Imago. Each lesson has some sort of specific outcomes. It was designed, each category lesson designed to achieve and some goals or a target of learning. And so we want to convey that to you guys on the top kind of 4 categories that are most assigned and used in classrooms. And we wanted to express a little bit of the where their target is, and we're going to go over some, we're going to show you the lessons in there. We might show you a couple examples of lessons, and we're going to show you some student feedback about those lessons. And so if you're looking at trying to figure out how, which lessons to add to my class, or I'm assigning these specific lessons, but I'm not sure why, this will be a great little segment here and a number 2 for you right here. So,
perfect.
Leveraging lessons. The first one is mindsets, which we love. And mindsets are kind of like our core lesson set, and they are designed to help learners increase their emotional intelligence. So most subjects in school are designed to increase a student's IQ.
Yep.
And so these are designed to increase a student's
EQ, or emotional intelligence.
Emotional quotient.
Yep.
Yeah, and so what we really are, we've kind of designed our own lens of emotional intelligence here, and it's through these 6 categories, subcategories within mindset lessons. And then we kind of also provide a little narrative there for students so they understand what these things mean. You know, if you talk to students, are you self-aware? They might not fully understand that.
Right.
But if you tell them you matter and your feelings and thoughts matter, okay, now they're understanding why we're doing some of the lessons in this area. And so we have these 6 categories: self-awareness, which teaches I matter; relationship skills, which is other people matter;
Yep.
social awareness, which is understanding other people matters, understanding who they are and why they do what they do, and your how they view you, those kinds of things. And then ethical decision making, which is the decisions I make or a student makes, those matter in life, and those have consequences or benefits. Then global awareness, and this is kind of a big picture one, but it's understanding larger systems. It's lifelong learning. It's understanding about the economy,
the politics, even your organization or the workforce itself.
Right.
That there's systems involved in all of that.
Why do these things exist, right? Yeah, outside of my own sphere and my own world, why should I be engaged, and why should I care about?
Stay relevant.
Yeah, those things. And then the last one here is self-management, and this one is really important. It's the behavior, how my behavior in public matters, and that it does actually matter.
Absolutely.
We see this is probably, one of the more prevalent ones these days.
Absolutely.
As we want to make sure we teach. And so here's a bunch of the lessons in the system. Here we
Ready to go?
So as you see some of these topics rolling in here, some are pretty heavy. And we asked people before, because we have some shirts that say like heuristics and tenacity and things like that. And people go, wait, I don't even know what that means, and I'm an adult or I'm a professional. We actually go into some pretty in-depth topics here, but we're talking about instilling a kind of a lens and a view, a mindset on how to view the world and how to view yourself. And I love these. These have actually impacted us here. When we designed and learned these, we learned so much more in creating these, and it's actually kind of changed the culture and the company focus here at Imago. We were more career-oriented at one point, and now we're also social-emotionally aware and trying to design that into all facets of our lessons.
I was going to say all of our content now is based in that area.
Yeah,
So,
that in this design thinking world. So let's look at what students think. That matters. Oh, actually, sorry, we're going to look at a couple lessons. So you chose this lesson to talk about, right?
I did. I chose organization to talk about because organization, it's one of my favorites to discuss because it can be easy for some and hard for others as a concept. And so have you ever been asked to get organized or, and not known where to go with that or where to start?
Only every day, every other day.
Yeah. So we don't always explain our reasons or for why we want things organized or the way that we would like it put together. And so this lesson shows 4 different types of organization and ways that it helps to effectively communicate your thoughts and ideas. And so again, it can be an easy concept for some, but if we're not explaining the why behind it, or if we live in maybe a house where organization isn't at the forefront of our minds, and we have an instructor or a facilitator asking us to become organized, what does that mean, and why do I start, and what's the purpose of it? And again, it's to help you be able to communicate clearly, to help reduce stress when it comes to starting a project or starting anything in life with you, start a little bit of organization in there. And so I really enjoy talking about this and explaining the why behind it.
And I think students kind of really respond to this too, because it seems like a very simple topic, as you said, but we're just giving structure to some things that feel like they're intangible sometimes.
Absolutely.
So I picked one too, and sometimes I go with self-awareness, but I picked empathy today. We don't need to see me. Empathy was really important to me because I just see the need for it in every facet of our lives, right? I mean, we need a lot more of this in the world. The world today and the climate out there would look a lot different.
I agree.
And so this one I love getting in there, primarily because we actually talk about like mirror neurons. When we talk about science and how our brains are designed for empathy. We're designed to see and mirror people, to show them that we're listening and show them that we're engaged and that we care. And so I really like this one. I think it's really important. But I also like it because of the impact that it's had out there. This a little stat here that I can share. It says where students would like to see more empathy. So we asked them, where in the world would you like to see more empathy? And people, they like to see it in school a lot more. A lot of students don't think that people understand how much stress it is to be a student and how much is put on them. And subsequently, I think that as facilitators and teachers, you probably share that same feeling in some aspects with your organization. So, but they want to see it at home. They want to see it in their relationships. They want to see it everywhere. And actually, as 84% of students, after going through this lesson, could articulate where they actually would want to see it more, which shows that they're exploring and thinking about that.
Right.
And it was only a very few that just did not quite understand or know where to look for that. And so this kind of lesson I like because it kind of gave a whole nother language, kind of a whole nother narrative there that they could communicate with others, and they could actually then empathetically look at other people and say, give them benefit of the doubt, or hold themselves accountable. So
right, and this is again compiled from our research and data team, and so from study guide responses, from some surveys that we've done with students, and so again, this is really impactful and really cool to see that digital content, and as facilitators, as teachers, you working with your students on these topics that maybe aren't the easiest to discuss at times, that it is making a difference, and there's some learns happening.
Exactly. We have a few quotes from students who
taken some mindset
lessons, right?
Yep.
And so I'll read the first. So self-control was a big one for me because I never had self-control before. Learning that it takes a lot of patience and there is always room for improvement. And we're reading all of these because, this is student voice. They took the time and actually wrote and articulated these really important kind of messages to us. So we want to kind of read them through. We're not just passing over them, but I never had self-control before. Obviously they just didn't know, right? They didn't quite have that kind of language to articulate and understand when to use it and when not. I love that. That's great.
Well, and these are again responses to our open-ended questions. So these are students that are taking the time to self-reflect and to provide input and their response in a thoughtful manner. And so students have the capability and the capacity to do so. And so it's really cool to pull some of this out. This other quote that we have is from our lifelong learning lesson in Mindsets. Again, a real interesting and engaging lesson, and talking about this is new knowledge, how it changed my motivation to learn, and it's important to improve yourself every day and challenge yourself to learn more and more. And so I think this is from, again, a student. As adults, we could be reminded to do these things on a regular basis as well, practicing self-control at times, continuing to learn, continuing to just improve in our everyday lives, and challenging ourselves.
And this is from the lifelong learning lesson, and
Yes.
I love that because the story there in the front, all the lessons kind of have this structure,
Yes.
and the story there in the front is about a man who can't remember anything past like 30 seconds, and so he doesn't even have the ability to retain this knowledge.
Right.
There is no lifelong learning for him. And I've seen students kind of react to that and say, wow, they never really thought about that, and they kind of took for granted the ability to retain the information that they are able to retain,
Right.
and the desire to, and it's caused them to actually want to go out there and learn more. And
A little lesson there.
that's all we need right
Yep.
there. So, okay, so life skills lessons. Life skills lessons were designed to learn and practice soft skills. We just like the way life skills sound.
I like skills. So.
And so these are 21st century skills. These are what everyone, tip of everyone's tongue most of the time. It is that simple. And we have these lessons. We'll go ahead and look at the list here. As you can see, these are natural behaviors and reasoning and things like finances and self-care that you really can't go very long throughout your day. You start your day
Yes.
6, 7 in the morning. You can't really go very far in interacting with the world where you're not thinking, wow, they could probably improve on their soft skills, or reasoning of, man, I could have handled that differently, or
Right.
or man, the reaction I got from someone wasn't that great. Maybe I was being disrespectful, not giving eye contact, whatever.
Or maybe I didn't shake the hand very well.
Yeah, the
maybe
slimy
a
hand,
little,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these lessons are really great because they kind of ingrain those natural soft skills, and they're only like 3 to 5 minutes long. So
and they're
really insert them
they're
in.
great to just for foundational lessons. Some of us have better foundations than others, and some of us need some more practice in these areas. And so these lessons help just kind of even that playing field again for everybody to have the opportunity to start fresh, to start strong, or practice getting better.
Right.
The finance, our newest category in life skills is finances. So we have financial literacy lessons, which again, there's some great information, great reminders, and great ways to start life after high school, along with us continuing to learn what a FICO score is.
Yeah,
right?
well,
Was
I
that
was
included in that
I was
one?
telling my wife I know what a FICO score is. I just don't
Yeah.
always know how to improve mine. So I learned in designing that lesson. So those are brand new out there. These are our financial literacy packages. We're excited to see how those can help anywhere from 11th grade on up kind of thing. It's kind of focused for anyone.
The finances.
Yeah,
yes,
the finance
yes.
ones. But
the other areas can go a little bit, definitely go lower.
Exactly.
And that brand your story, actually, one of my other fun lessons to go to when you talk about the hero's journey and how you can take your life experiences and build those into when you articulate for maybe an interview or that college or resume or building those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great information to pull out of there and utilize as well.
Or meeting new friends or just introducing yourself to people. So
And
we hear some student.
Yeah, so we have student feedback. Multitasking and making mistakes are related when we do not give our full attention to the subject at hand and are more likely to make mistakes due to lack of attention. That is from our attention lesson feedback.
Right, which we'll get into.
We're going to talk about that one. And then waiting for someone to finish what they're saying before I reply is one thing I could work on. And I'm sure we could all do that here at Imago as well.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, that was difficult. But I mean, I think that's the whole point is these are life skills. These are skills that you learn every day out there in the world, and we can always be better.
Yeah, not just at work,
so.
but in our personal relationships as well.
Right. I'm getting the hint, Melissa.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
be better at that.
Right, okay.
Work skills. So work skills teach career readiness through job search, interview, and resume prep. And so this is one of our older set of lessons, but these actually really get into, if we look at the categories here, into interviewing questions and job search opportunities, job boards and personal networks and those kinds of things, impressions, communication, and resumes, which is used a lot because it's a step-by-step kind of process. So these are primarily used for career readiness.
Career readiness. So yeah, getting ready for getting into the workforce for the first time, or maybe you're getting back into it. Maybe you've been out for a while and you've had some life-changing events and you got to get ready to go interview again. And so these lessons are great foundations. We have some that are experienced and inexperienced. So again, for those that have never had a job before, we've got some tips on how to answer questions there. And then for those that have been in the workplace, they'll be able to use some of those experiences that they've had beforehand to articulate into those areas. A good foundation for getting back into the workforce and that job readiness. So a great, still foundational content.
When these first came out, I mean, we had these studies that kind of pulled out of them that their biggest impact was they gave students it was like 80% of students had an increased confidence level when entering that job interview. And we all know if you're actually walking into a job interview with confidence, you probably have a job already. You don't need that job, but especially if you need that job, having that confidence that you need makes all the difference in how you present yourself and you can talk about yourself and your story. And so just being able to lift the students' confidence and learners' confidence with these lessons is quite impactful and important. So
absolutely.
And the great thing is because this library is here, always coming back to this, over the years and just kind of looking at those lessons and understanding them better and learning something you forgot about. So that's why we like those ones. And some reflection from students was, I believe in being reliable. I believe in being an honest person and being prepared. I believe the job needs to get done the correct way. I believe quality of getting the project done. So these are very practical quotes that you'd expect. Honestly, every job employer wants to hear these as a reflection from their
what would be valuable
employees.
and what they can bring to the table.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so that's, obviously that's the goal here. We've talked to employers, we've met with HR reps, and most of these lessons are designed to support that person getting into that job the right way. Not just answering the questions as they want, but actually tailoring your own questions in these job interview questions so it reflects yourself. And honestly.
Very cool.
And your favorite,
Industries.
last but not least, we'll get into industries, because industries address career exploration by looking at problems industry sectors solve.
Yes, so I'm
What does that
sure
mean?
some of us have been asked, and the question I'm sure is still asked, is what do you want to be when you grow up? Versus,
I wanted to be a cop, but I couldn't because I'm colorblind. That's sad.
well, I'm glad you weren't, because then you wouldn't be sitting here with us.
There you go.
There you go. So talking about what problems in the world an industry sector solves. So giving that global perspective on industries and giving them exposure to a variety of topics that maybe they haven't explored before or been exposed to. When you're talking about health and medical technology, talking about energy, there's just a variety of topics that understanding what problem in the world they solve can be so much more impactful when addressing career exploration.
Yeah, and that gets us back to the beginning there when we talked about purpose, right? We talked about giving this, and we know there's a whole nother generation here that is seeking jobs that have purpose and that have seeking jobs that actually mean something to them. And so that's the purpose of these lessons, is not to just do a career exploration and do an assessment to find out what you'd be good at, but to give you a full exploration of all the opportunities out there, what, as you said, problems they are designed, because careers are designed to solve a certain problem. And then the student will then kind of self-reflect and say, I want to solve that problem too. And then maybe be matched.
Absolutely, and then they might find one that they don't like at all. And that is great to find out at an early age as well, because some of us could have saved a lot of heartache and pain and jobs if we had figured out that we weren't liking that particular industry.
Just a few. I'm not designed for construction. I can do construction. I'm just not designed for construction. So, anyway, so that's the industry sectors, and we actually have a library of these on your screen, these industry sectors available at the moment. But we are really excited because we are actually pumping out another 4 industry sectors in 2020.
I can't wait. I'm so excited about that.
I know. I promised you.
I can't wait to
Promised you would have them. So we're going
to look them over, to do the activities with them, and to see young people just be exposed to more opportunities and more career exploration options.
The reason why I think you really enjoy these lessons,
yes, and
why these, as well as mindsets, kind of share a certain place in our hearts, is the feedback we get.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The impact. These lessons have been so impactful to learners in so many different ways, because they're being introduced at 6th grade level, all the way to probably 8th to 10th, 11th.
We even have some of our adult learners, using these too, as well. So yeah, giving that exposure, again, understanding what problems they solve. And so yes, when we're giving young people opportunities to learn about things that they never knew existed, is just so exciting for me. I wish I had had that as a young person.
I know we all do. So I learned never to give up on your dream and always help others. You can do many jobs, the sky's the limit, and it's very helpful. I learned from the industry lessons that I can be anything if I work hard. And honestly, I think that's probably what you just want to be out there. You want them to have that confidence level that sky's the limit. They can actually choose and have that agency that we all know that they need and want in choosing their career, choosing their life. So we love those.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we got here. Well, we're on a 3rd one. So your method matters. And what we really mean by this is how you implement and how you teach and facilitate in the classroom makes all the difference for the learning. And this is not, like I said, this is not conjecture and propaganda that we'd put out there. This is observed from you. Well, I mean, there's information we'd love you to best practices, but we actually just observe this from watching you and getting your feedback, and more importantly, assessing the students' study guides and their information on retention information. We're going to go with those. So what are the 3 methods?
3 typical methods that we see are student-led. So Again, we have digital content. It is, you can assign it and a learner can do it on their own. They can watch the video, answer the study guide questions, and be done with it. And so that
like
is
on their
one
phone,
option.
just by themselves at home.
Chromebook, desktop, any of them. Yeah, they could do it at home, in a classroom even, with a headset in. So that's happens too.
Right.
And students can do that, and they're getting information that they may not have gotten before. So that is one way of doing it.
Next one is flipped classroom.
And this is kind of a blend with the student-led. So you can have a student do the lesson on their own and then come back as a class and have a discussion on the lesson that they watched, the videos that they watched and the questions that they answered. And so students will get more out of a lesson with this discussion. They get to hear different perspectives. They'll get to get more information from you as a teacher or facilitator. So yes, this is another great option that you can use with our digital content.
And the last one is?
Last one, and my favorite to do is
facilitated
discussion.
Facilitated this discussion.
Yes, and this discussion. And that's my favorite because it really takes a concept, an idea, a lesson that is in the platform, and you watch it together as a group. You watch the lesson, you watch the video, and then you discuss the questions. And so you can use the study guide questions that are up on the board. A student could be answering the questions in guide only, or just having that rich discussion because you hear a perspective from your peers, you hear a perspective of your teacher, and those are things that you may not have considered before. You may hear one of your best friends may look at something totally different, and you had no idea until you had this discussion in this classroom. And so one of my favorite ways of doing that, just because it really helps retention of the topic or the lesson that you're talking about, and then also just gives a variety of perspectives on a subject.
So it's your favorite one, but
Yes.
probably because you're social and engaged person, you want to be in the classroom. But explain why you like this one yourself.
Because I get to do activities, and usually I try to get folks to laugh and have a conversation.
Yeah, engagement. Yeah, you like to get that rich engagement.
Yes, I do.
And so this is kind of where it leads us to saying that the facilitated discussion actually, and this is kind of why we're talking about this, is the most impactful. So we want to give you these tools on impact and how to improve your classroom. And those facilitated discussions are shown up in our data to be most impactful. Like Melissa said, they increase the understanding and they increase retention, just overall learning of the subject matter,
right?
When they can bounce those ideas off of each other. Now, sometimes that can be daunting, and we're going to talk about some resources that we can use to do that. But when it comes to facilitated discussion, one of your favorite lessons to do that with is, I'm going to get there, attention. And so attention is one of those we're going to look at here in a second.
Yeah. It's our life skills lesson. You can see on there it's only 3 minutes. It's a quick one, but it just talks about multitasking and how multitasking can sometimes not be the best way to actually get things done. We might create more issues than actually solving them. And so highlighting that attention and what it is and the different areas that we can focus and how we can attend to ourselves and tend to others. Again, a very sometimes easy conversation, but at other times it may not be so easy. And so when we think that multitasking is helping us, some of this information that we're learning is not always the case. And we then, with the facilitator guide, actually have an activity that we have folks go through, and it's helps.
So this is the real reason why you like these ones.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you like to get in the activities, and we do have an example of activities, but the activity for that one right there was kind of like what do you have to do? You have to do a handshake?
Handshake and thumb war.
And thumb war at the same time.
At the same time. And
Okay.
I've done this with students and I've done it with adults. And this is actually an example of some HR folks doing some of our activities for this particular lesson. And so it not only has you laughing, but also there's some lessons to be learned from that as well.
Exactly. So how does that work?
So, that's not a thumb war.
Right.
Thumb war, and then rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors at the same time.
so at
So
the same
the
time.
goal is to just try to
Do both of them at the same
focus on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be horrible at that one.
Okay.
But like I said, it's all about the resources. It's all about finding ways to engage with the students
Engage the
and
students
provide
and
those
then
that
connect the concept with the activities that you've got on the resource guide.
Which leads us to our final point, which is grab your guide. And when we talk about guide, we're talking about
Grab your
guide. It's like I'm going to tour guide. Grab Your Guide is the facilitation guide, facilitator guide. And we're going to walk you kind of through an example of that one.
Yep.
But these are provided for mindsets,
Correct.
Life skills,
Correct.
and industries
Industries.
lessons. And they add rigor. They add discussion. They add these great opportunities to, and so we didn't want to just throw a lesson in your lap and say, hey, this is how you teach heuristics and ethics, but here's some additional resources. And I know as teachers, we all love resources. So.
Absolutely. And the facilitator guides were designed so that you could have non-digital activities with the digital content. So as you can see here, as we're looking at a facilitator guide, it'll start by giving you the title and what it's covering and description of the lesson. And then it jumps into think ahead questions. So you could use these if you're doing that flipped classroom method. Say you're assigning a lesson and you wanted them to consider these questions as they're going through the lesson, or if you, before you're starting the facilitation, you could ask these specific questions. And so this one again is on attention and asking, what are things that you're doing that might let someone think you're not paying attention, and how did that make you feel when someone's not paying attention? And so again, setting the tone that there's no right or wrong answer to these questions is really helpful, so that students are again just providing their perspective and their thoughts on these different guides.
And then the next section is your favorite. So it's the activities, and these can be anything from, literally like an engagement thing, a game, to a craft, to conversations, interviews, or even acting out.
Yes, so in research, you provided research topics. We've done plays or skits, or even suggested doing music to them. Again, these are guides we have given you, and you can adapt it to whatever fits your needs in the classroom and what works for you.
Right.
And your workshop or classroom.
And then as one of the most important pieces here is the discussion questions. And so sometimes you have a topic kind of like, I keep on saying heuristics because no one knows it, but tenacity or something, or even think of ethics or empathy, and it seems kind of heavy. And so you might not know how to open that discussion in your classroom. And so we want to provide some questions here that are kind of like 1, 2, 3, step by step, that will kind of lead you in a positive way, so that there is that application and there is that understanding once you've actually finished the lesson. So discussion questions are great in there to do that.
And they keep you on a path that is relevant to the topic and the lesson that has been created.
And then it said, so we have those kind of 3, 4 pieces to each guide here, and then we give some multiple versions of that based upon kind of the environment that you're going to use them in. So this would be like for work-based learning opportunities or that kind of engagement. And so as much as we can, we try to give as many different views or activities and these kinds of questions based upon the type of learning. But this gets us down to the back of this one. So this was the attention one. And at the back of it, there's one last piece, which is the resources. And a lot of this can be sometimes resources we use to design the lessons, but they can also just be the additional learning, the next steps of learning with TED Talks, articles, those kinds of things that really give a resource to the teacher to even give to the student. Yeah,
absolutely. If you have someone that's really interested and wants to take a topic further, you could provide these resource links. If you really have some great conversation going in your classroom and you want to expand on what you're discussing, these are, again, there to guide you and to help those discussions and conversations.
Great. All right, so that's the guide there. And honestly, that's it. That's the conclusion. Now we're at the conclusion of that, which seems like pretty fast, but honestly, those 4 little things,
I think they're pretty big.
They're pretty big, but simple in at least the way that we present them, are pretty impactful to introducing people to these lessons in the classroom. We really hope that these can be seen as a resource to you, and that these tips we gave were profitable for you.
Right, and for all the hard work you're already doing in your classroom to help you integrate or at least be able to kind of jumpstart some of this discussion so that they're continuing to learn and finding enjoyment in this opportunity of tackling some of this heavy conversation at times.
Yeah. And so, as we always do with all of our workshops or now webinars, we usually do an I Delta O feedback. We usually do this with people, but we're just going to do it between ourselves, so you can see how we do it. But also, if you are on Twitter or you are on the GoToMeeting and you'd like to provide a question or comments in here too, we'd love to hear back from you. Send us emails and those kinds of things that we can get. We'll go ahead and look at the chat in just a second and see if we have any to speak to. But we'll go ahead and provide I Delta O and see how that works. And so would you like to start with an I? So we were talking about impressions or things that impressed you liked about this time, things that you would change, deltas. Things you do differently, and then outcomes or things you take away from this experience for next time.
So impressions, I enjoyed having someone here with me to have a discussion with me, so that was helpful. I did last time by myself, so it was fun to have someone else here. I'm glad that we were able to talk about these different 4 different areas, because this is questions and feedback that we've gotten from our partners, and so I'm glad that we took this upon ourselves to address it and at least start the conversation on these things.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this can go, because I mean, we get so much feedback and we really want to have a good feedback loop, and we're trying to use these as kind of good opportunities to present out to everyone what we've heard and that we've heard you, and maybe there's things that will change in the platform when we get suggestions and stuff and updates, and so we'd like to use this as an opportunity to do that. So I really like this format. I appreciate you being invited in to do that. I'll go into deltas. I mean, as all the time, it'd be great to have literally people here with you and discuss, because I think it would really benefit for all of our facilitators out there, our wonderful facilitators, to see just how others are engaging themselves in the classrooms. And so we'd like to do that. At some point, maybe we can just, if anyone has any suggestions or would love to offer to live web chat or webcam into your classroom,
I like that.
Or to interview you on here, we'd love to do that and get some more feedback. Other than that,
so you're saying we can show off our partners by coming out and filming them doing a lesson?
We can do that.
Is that
as
an
well.
option?
We can do that as well.
Okay. Or you could live chat with us.
You can do that.
I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
I can film?
I'll film.
I don't know if
you can facilitate.
Okay, that
That's
sounds
the
good.
deal.
All right.
Any deltas you'd have? Anything you change?
I liked bringing more folks in and being able to make sure that we're continuing to answer those things. So, yeah.
And O's. What's your O?
O's. I know I had one. What's your O?
My O would be, what we're going to do with these are we're going to have them recorded and put them on our YouTube. And so if you weren't able to watch us live and you want to access it afterwards, good outcome there is we're going to try to get it into YouTube channel here soon. And so you can preview these and kind of walk through and maybe do your own internal trainings with your staff and people. But also just I'd love to get some feedback from anyone and see how we can make these better. So.
Absolutely. I'm up for that.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have a note here?
Yeah, that you don't want to.
No, we're good. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for being here and for sharing your time with us.
Thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from all of you soon, and hopefully getting to see some of you in the near future.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.